Trends are the new news. These are the stories you want to know about.
I found it really exciting to be able to bring a spotlight to this new creator movement.
I'm Shira.
And I'm RJ.
This is Trend Trials,
where if you trend it, we try it.
Shira Lazar was one of the first people I ever met to harness Web2. She knew how to take social media, create her own brand, and grow it worldwide. Well, now she's stepping into Web3. I sat down with her to talk about how we both transitioned from general news and covering entertainment into crypto and covering the blockchain. Take a look. Shira Lazar, I've known you for, I want to say almost 20 years. Like we've been supporting each other
almost
in the business.
Well, probably a bit less, only because I did graduate college in 2004, but it's almost there.
Oh yeah, so it's a little less. But we covered a bunch of stuff. Like I would run into you at events. We both covered like pop culture and entertainment. What's trending? That was your brand. That was your thing.
Oh my God.
And now, suspiciously, we both ended up covering crypto and the blockchain. How the hell did that happen?
I know. It's so crazy because, yeah, I guess we were broadcasters. We are broadcasters still. But it was interesting to see that you were doing all this too, and I'm so excited to hear more from you. But and we were saying this before we started recording, like I'm not an expert, I'm not a financial expert or advisor, although I feel like I have been increasing my financial literacy the past 2 years.
Yeah. Same.
And that was a big part of also me like finding my worth, owning my voice. Like it all kind of is intertwined in realizing like, what do I need to do to like support myself, be more independent financially and otherwise. And crypto/blockchain was part of that in many ways, because a lot of the, let's be clear, a lot of the guys I was seeing that I know that focus on this type of stuff, that are early investors, that have equity, that have made a good life for themselves financially, were in this space. And so that was definitely intriguing to me. And also a lot of these people were people that I'd been in Web2 with early on in the creator economy days. And
so in like social media, you knew them from that world.
Exactly. So between those two things, I was very curious. And even now though, it's not like I put my life savings into crypto.
Right.
I'm fascinated and curious by the technology and the disruption, the cultural disruption and the community. That's always my entryway. And then all this other stuff happens to be intertwined into it.
I think you and I are both definitely cut from the same cloth. I find the tech of it really exciting. You know, I find the new iteration of the web really exciting. You know, trading crypto is like something on the side that, you know, I'm not an expert at and don't want to lose all my money either. But I'm always curious how people get into it, because someone once said it's like veganism, you know, like some people get into it because they want to be healthy. Some people just like don't want to hurt animals. Some people, you know, so there's always different reasons to get into it. And you and I, coming from the same sort of background, in the sense that, you know, we both didn't have a financial background, as far as I know, was really exciting to me. I felt like we both just stumbled on it, really.
Oh yeah, well, what I love about that is one, and this is kind of the saying that everyone's kind of sick of hearing, is like we need more women in the space. And then it's also not, we need people and women that aren't just necessarily financial experts, but that are just regular people who are interested in this and who can make it more accessible and understandable and communicate it in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming or alienating. And I think the more we find like the regular person in it, or the person you would see in other spaces or industries coming into it, the more other women can say, oh, maybe this is a place that I should be curious about. Like that for me is exciting.
Well, I always think of you as a pioneer of Web2. I mean, when all of us were just dipping our toe into social media, I feel like you were ahead of the game. You had like a huge following. You learned how to use it as a tool for your own brand, for information, to get stuff out there before anyone else that I knew of. And so do you find the same sort of possibilities with Web3, or how do you think things will change in Web3 from Web2?
Yeah, well, that was a big reason why I jumped into it too, besides like seeing a lot of the guys that had made the right moves in it. And I'm like, maybe I gotta follow their lead. Let's be clear. In some things, not in a lot of stuff. I don't want to follow the white men in a lot of the stuff, but some of the stuff
I will. With the indictments or the
exactly. No.
FTC investigations.
Or just like, you know, in the end, there's a reason why, besides clearly the patriarchy, that they're at the top. So that said, another big reason was because I saw a lot of my Web2 folks in it, from Alexis Ohanian, Gary Vaynerchuk, Randy Zuckerberg, Britt Morin, who started BFF. And then when I started collecting some NFTs, and they happened to be female-founded NFTs. These weren't the Bored Apes, the Doodles. These weren't the blue chips. Like, it was just literally finding ones from women I found had really amazing stories and were building something interesting. They weren't expensive, and that was my way in. And when I started posting about the ones I was buying and supporting, it was incredible to see the community just come and like welcome me in with open arms. And the energy reminded me of the early creator days. Like when I was at VidCon, which is like the Comic-Con of YouTube, and I was in a basement of a hotel and seeing these fans lined up to see their favorite creators that they had been watching on this small screen, right? Like I was seeing the same energy here. And I think what it made me realize now in hindsight, and you got to recognize patterns, right, for yourself. A lot of times we don't know we're experts at something or we have a knack for something until we see it emerge again and we have that feeling again. And I think like that's what's given me a sense of confidence more recently, because I thought maybe, and other people have said this to me, like, oh, you did it once, like you were lucky.
Right.
But then
like
now to be,
ball.
Exactly. And that could mess with you, because then you're like, oh, I'll just be known for this one thing I did when I was like in my mid-20s. It sucks. Right? And then it's like an identity crisis and everything. But then when I happened to be in this again, I was like, whoa, wait. I've felt and seen this before. It wasn't even about seeing, it was a feeling. And then I go, holy crap, like I'm in things early. This is an expertise of mine. Like this is actually what I know how to do and what I'm good at. And then when I started to look at it from that angle, I was like, okay, this is a thing. And also, you know, coming from outside the crypto tokens finance side, the creativity and innovation for creators, that's what really interested me. And that's what really drew me in, alongside all the other stuff that came with it. But yeah, like that's when that like you mentioned the feeling or why, it was really that.
I mean, you talk about, you know, being a YouTuber and realizing like, oh, there's this entire ecosystem, right, that was taking off. As far as being a creator in this space, to me, who really wasn't a creator like you were in Web2, to me, it just seems like a much more autonomous place to create, in the sense that, you know, people who are building in Web3 really want to put more control back in the creators' hands and less control in like the 5 big tech companies that run everything right now. Is that what you see out there when you talk to, you know, people on the front lines?
Yeah, I think, you know, for the YouTube creator economy, it was taking the hands out of the 5 big legacy brands or whatever, how many numbers there are. And then and then we had social come in, and then we realized that social still was a walled garden, and creators still weren't getting the money they wanted or deserved, or it was being controlled, the contracts. And so it went from media in Web2 to the tech companies taking over and promising that, but then them not really doing that for creators. And so this is then definitely the time of like taking back the power. And I'm seeing that as a big driver, definitely in this space. And the advent and innovation of smart contracts, you know, the artist deciding, and artists I say generally, because you could be a actual digital artist or fine artist.
You could be any kind of artist.
You could be a video creator, you could be a musician. Like this can all live as a digital asset. You being able to decide what your contract looks like, and then the platforms, and this has been a big, you know, debate, the artist royalty debate, because these marketplaces came in and were like, oh, we're gonna do it the Web2 way again. And there was a huge fight, and there still is debate around that. But I think overall, the push is for what we saw the space come up in, you know, and it's very early, where it was saying like, let the artist decide in the contract and the rest is quote unquote history, right? the rest gets to continue on, and still the artist gets to see the money come back to them, as well as, and I'll add the consumer or the fan. Like, we can see an upside too. So it becomes this like all ships rise together in that way, which is definitely very different.
I would absolutely agree. And also, it's much more transparent. I mean, if you have a smart contract on the blockchain and you've worked out, the terms of that contract, it's very easy to see. I think there's less ambiguity for artists and for people who buy NFTs.
It forces all of us, to like really hold each other accountable. And say like, we're not going to do sketchy stuff, and like let it be out there, and I need to own that. If that information is out there, how am I going to support it, right? So
you and I
think that is really great.
Yeah, I agree. And you and I are, relatively new to this space. I don't think either of us would term ourselves expert, but but what do you say to naysayers? Because I'm sure you come across them just like I do, where they're like, crypto's not going to last. Everything's burning down, and it's not here to stay. What do you say to people that are naysayers? Do you take it with a grain of salt? Do you think there's some truth behind it?
Yeah, I think there is truth behind it. I think there was a lot of fast money to be made, and people that built everything on smoke and mirrors and with a lack of foundation. And we're seeing those people crumble, and for good reason, because like the idea is for the better things to rise, and the more sustainable business models that make more sense. And partially, it's not just calling out these companies. Like, a lot of people are talking about this now with the FTX situation. It's not just DeFi that's at fault, but the traditional finance system. Because guess what? A lot of the investors for Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX were traditional investors that did not do their due diligence, right? And so these were the people that were supporting this person. And
look, I mean, if you take crypto out of the equation, it's like any swindling, and he stole people's money and he lied to them, and that happens in traditional banking all the time.
Exactly. And all the things he's being charged with is all stuff that would happen in the traditional space. It's not, crypto happens to be a means of it, but it was based on the traditional financial system, which gets to be rejiggered. That said, I hope it is a sign to those in this space to say that, this is not going away, this technology, right? The blockchain, but how are we going to build it so, it is not bad, right? So it doesn't scam people. So
it doesn't attract criminals.
And possibly there are regulations that yet still allow for the, and I hate to say the word innovation again, but the innovations that this tech has. I think we need to find a balancing act, right? Because we can't function the way it is right now. There's a reason why he was able to do what he did, is because there was no regulation. And if we don't want that, we need to find some happy medium where it's there. So I say to people,
I think people they want to know what the rules are so that, they can play.
You need a sandbox to play in, or else everyone's going to be running around the playground going crazy. And there'll be bullies. There'll be people like stealing from each other, the lunches. Like, there's a reason why these things happen. So I also say to people who use that as an example of why not to be in the space, like I say, the space is so much more than that. It is a cultural, creator revolution. And I'm banking on this for that, not just for the crypto side of it. And so when I say that, I think that people start looking at it from another perspective versus all these gratuitous, clickbaity headlines.
Well, when you got out of school in the early aughts, right, and you were getting into Web 2, people probably said the same thing. And, I think our parents definitely.
There was a lot of companies there too. Or
there's so many bad ones. And there were so many people that are like, this Twitter.
And influencers, fake influencers. There's been whole documentaries on fake influencers that scam people, that get products, that have fake followers. I mean, in every big industry and that blows up suddenly, there will be bad actors, and we've seen that. But yeah, a lot of times when I started in social media, people were like, why are you wasting your time in this? Or what does it actually mean? How are you actually going to make money? What's the point?
Right.
Same questions happen here. And also, let's just add like the .com bubble.
Yeah.
There were a lot of companies then
a lot
that didn't make sense.
Crappy
And then
websites.
Exactly. And what did we see come out of it? Companies like Google or Amazon. So I think we're going to see the same thing over the next 2 years happen. And I think the industry is going to be better because of it. Unfortunately, it's now going to be a bit delayed.
Yeah, it's growing pains.
Exactly.
Yeah. And do you, because I know that I like search out for women in the space because, you know, when you go to these like conventions and like if you see another woman, you're like, oh, hi, what do you do? Because the line for the men's restroom is like 18 times longer than the girls. Do you find that women get into the space for different reasons than the men do?
I think what's amazing is there's so many incredible female engineers and tech types that are more technologically inclined, you know. And then there's a lot of really incredible female investors that have deep financial backgrounds that I'm amazed by as they speak. And I'm like, holy crap, you know a lot. Can I learn from you? So I'm amazed at the different types of people across the spectrum, women that I meet. And then there's, of course, which is, again, a go-to trope a bit, that it's like women are more the marketing communications people.
Yeah.
Definitely that's a big part of it. But I just meet so many women across the board doing so many things. And that's why, you know, as we say, like when people are looking for more diversity or inclusion or those buzzwords, like, and they say it's hard to find good people, like they don't want to just tokenize it, etc. But like you really need to do your work, because guess what? Those people are out there. There's a lot of talent out there. So I'm meeting people across the board, to be honest. And yeah, it's really cool. Every day I get to meet amazing people, and I'm blown away. It's actually hard. Like I think in previous industries, you know, and you know this, there's the top lists of this, the 30 under 30, the 40 under 40, and there's always like the same names sometimes on all these lists. I think it's actually really difficult in Web3 to figure that out, because there are so many incredible people doing so many amazing things, including women. But I must say that I would like to think that women approach things more holistically, with impact and service in mind, and thinking more about community and society, which is why we need more female leaders.
Yeah, we do. I mean, you know, when you see who gets indicted for corruption from the SEC, I mean, a lot more bros than hoes.
Hey, exactly. So with that, I think it'll open up, hopefully, you know, there'll be more openings for female founded companies in the space. I mean, there are a lot of women building great tech, you know, Clutch Wallet, Beck Jones, and it's not just for women, like companies for women, but they're by women. And so we need more of the people that have money to be investing in those ideas. Like the fact is that women aren't invested in, I don't know the percentage, but it is crazy. I feel like I could just Google it right now. But then you add in even like there's less going to even Black women. So like across the board, women are not getting like a fair treatment. And so, you know, we get to change that partially by lifting each other up if we have platforms and the money to do so. But then we need to call others forth to say like, and hold them accountable to say like, who are you investing in, and how do we make this more equitable as well?
Right. Absolutely. I agree. I'm going to let you go, Shira, because I have to have another.
I just snorted. I have to have another
terrible Zoom. No, thank you so much for joining me. And tell us about your podcast, where we find it, where you are on social.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you. I'm excited. I feel like in these moments, like I want to even interview you or talk to you. Like I want to tell me about you.
Hang out aside from this.
I know we're going to, but I do a weekly podcast / radio show. Yes, this is on terrestrial radio. Whether people listen or not, who knows? They're like someone said they listened one morning. It was on KNX News here in LA, because we're on stations across California. And they were like, I thought I by mistake ended up in a Twitter Spaces, but it was a show.
It's a radio show.
On the radio about like Web3. They're like, they thought they made a mistake.
I know. I did the same thing. They're like, what's your podcast? I was like, it's a radio show. We used to have radio.
Oh my God. Yeah, so it's called Inside Web3. It airs on stations, but you know, we know that type of programming you might not listen to on a station. So you could just find it on podcast where podcasts are available inside Web3. And then I also have a weekly newsletter called The Alpha, and it's for newbies and those who can't keep up. So go to my site, shiralazar.com/subscribe to sign up.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of you. Yeah, and I love that you're covering this and doing this, and I need to hear more about what you're doing. And
I know. We'll sit back, discuss. We'll meet in the metaverse and discuss it there.
Yeah, we're going old school. Actually, we're gonna meet in person. I'm gonna force you to meet.
Okay, I'm still down for that. Don't worry.
But I'm down.
Sarah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You too.